So many of us start our day or just find a quiet moment with a simple cup of tea. But have you ever really stopped to think about the journey that tea took to get into your mug? Well, today, we're going to dive into the story behind our daily brew and figure out how we can make choices that are way better for people and for the planet. And to really get it, we've got to start with that personal connection so many of us have with tea. For so many people, tea is incredibly personal. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. It's not just a drink, right? It's about culture, it's about history, it's about tradition. It's basically a legacy in a cup. And that powerful feeling is exactly why the whole story, the complete journey of how it gets to us, is so, so important. So, that brings us to the big question we're tackling today. Beyond that warm, comforting feeling, what's the real story of that tea, from the leaf to your cup? And let me tell you, the answer is a whole lot more complex than you might think.
Okay, let's start by pulling back the curtain on the unseen footprint of tea production. Because behind that simple, natural product we love, there's a process that has historically created some pretty serious challenges for the environment and for the people involved.
You know that picture you have in your head of a tea garden? It's probably all lush, green, peaceful. But the reality? Well, it can be a whole different story. For a lot of conventional teas, that beautiful image can hide some ugly truths, like deforestation, heavy chemical use, and unfair wages for the very people who grow this drink we all love. So let's break that environmental footprint down a bit. To make way for these massive tea gardens, huge areas of forest often have to be cleared, which of course means habitat loss for wildlife. The intensive farming methods can wear out the soil over time, and the runoff from chemical fertilizers and pesticides, that stuff can end up in local rivers and streams, messing with everything from fish to the health of nearby communities. And then there's the human cost. Here's the tough part. Our global demand for cheap tea puts this incredible downward pressure on prices. And that pressure often translates directly into workers not earning a living wage, living in poor conditions, and having little to no access to basic health care. All for one of the world's most popular drinks. Okay, so that was a lot of heavy stuff. But, and this is a big but, it is not all doom and gloom. In fact, all these challenges have kicked off a really important movement that's brewing a better future by shifting towards sustainability. At the absolute heart of this shift is organic farming. You could even call it the keystone of the whole thing. It's a system that's all about ditching synthetic chemicals and instead using natural methods, like composting, to protect the environment, the workers, and yeah, us, the tea drinkers. It's about working with the ecosystem, not fighting against it. And just as crucial, of course, is the human side of the equation. Fair trade initiatives are specifically designed to tackle those social injustices we were just talking about. When you see that label, it's a guarantee that farmers were paid fairly and work in safe conditions. Plus, it often includes something called a fair trade premium, which is extra money that gets reinvested right back into the community for things like schools and medical clinics.
And sustainability is so much bigger than just what's happening in the fields. It's the whole shebang. It includes smart water use, like efficient irrigation, and encouraging a variety of plants and animals to naturally keep pests in check. It even thinks all the way to the end of the line, like using eco-friendly packaging to cut down on waste.
Okay, so we've looked at the problem and we've looked at the solutions. So what now? How do we, as people who just want a good cup of tea, actually put this into practice? Well, this next part is your practical guide to choosing tea consciously. So, when you're standing in the tea aisle, staring at a wall of boxes, how can you tell what's what? Well, it really comes down to looking for a few key labels. Organic means no synthetic chemicals. Simple. Fair trade means the workers were treated and paid fairly. And that Rainforest Alliance seal, that one's focused on protecting wildlife and natural resources. Just knowing these three is a huge first step.
And hey, if you really want to be a super sleuth and dig a little deeper, here are 4 easy steps. First, look for those certifications we just mentioned, both on the box and on their website. Second, a lot of brands that are serious about this stuff publish sustainability reports. Give them a read. Third, check how transparent they are. Do they actually tell you where their tea comes from? And finally, just look at the packaging. It's a surprisingly good clue about their overall commitment.
I know. It can feel like such a small thing, right? Just choosing one box of tea over another. But seriously, do not underestimate the power of that choice. This quote says it all. Our decisions at the checkout line add up, and together, they give us real power to change an entire industry. So let's really dig into that power. Let's talk about the incredible ripple effect that starts from the simple choice of what goes into your shopping cart and what ends up in your cup.
So, what does this look like in the real world? Well, there are some amazing brands already leading the charge. You've got Numi, which is all in on both organic and fair labor. Art of Tea proves that you can have luxury and be eco-conscious. These companies are showing everyone that an ethical business model isn't just a nice idea, it's a successful one. And when you zoom out, the long-term impact is just huge. When we support brands like these, we're doing more than just buying tea. For the planet, we're helping build healthier ecosystems, save water, and cut pollution. And for people, we're supporting fair wages and helping create this amazing cycle of empowerment that builds stronger communities from the ground up.
At the end of the day, it really all boils down to this. Every time you choose an ethical tea, you're sending a signal. It's a clear message to the whole industry that we, the consumers, actually care about the planet and the people behind the product. And that collective demand is the most powerful thing there is for driving real change. So, I want to leave you with one final thought. The next time you go to brew a cup of tea, just pause for a second and think about its journey. Now that you know all this, you have the power to decide what story that cup of tea will tell. Will it be one of sustainability, of fairness, of positive change? The choice is yours.